Hey, Howie, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And yourself?
Good, good, good. Welcome, everybody, to our webinar. Everybody's coming into the room. We have, it's in the hundreds.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
noticed that.
so
Fantastic.
we should wait for everybody to join. This is the useful webinar that costs nothing.
That's right. It's worth every penny.
And amazingly, people trust us enough not to tell them what it's about.
Yeah.
All we had to do was tell them it was a cool webinar that cost nothing.
Yeah, there you go.
And there you go.
120 signups, just like that.
That's right. Our description was purposely undescript.
Little copywriting trick.
That's right. So how is everybody doing during these days? This is not going to be another one of those webinars you've probably taken. I know I speak to, I don't know how many dentists have told me that they're Zoom meetinged out.
Yeah.
They've learned as much about implants as they possibly can. And they just want to go back to work.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's starting to happen. I hear little rumors here and there.
Yep.
The state and that state over there, they're opening up. So.
Yep.
Won't be long.
Okay, so let me start with some introductions for everybody who's on live and obviously who's going to watch this recorded. My name is Mark Dilatush. I'm the CEO of New Patients Incorporated. That other guy that you see is the actual chairman of the board of New Patients Incorporated. And Howie, you started the company back in like '89.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it was the Ice Age, yeah.
Yeah, the Ice Age, right? So, and this is important not because we're going to ask you for your credit card or ask you to buy anything, because we never do in any of our education. It's important so that you understand why we're sharing you this information and how we came about discovering this issue in dental practices. It didn't just happen by mistake, it actually happened by data. So we're a marketing firm. We've been studying what works and what doesn't work as far as acquiring new patients and good quality new patients. We've been studying that now well, you started the company in '89, Howie.
Yeah.
And I think we really started to really dig into the data around 2004. So probably about 15, 16 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And then as the years went by, technology we invested in, testing, independent consumer research, a whole bunch of things that we invested money in. And it allows us to actually see the capacity of a dental practice, right? And then you had, 2008, 2009, the recession, and, things were slow for a while for dentists. And then it picked back up, and it picked up into a crescendo of 2000, and I'd say about 2017, 18, 19, 20. We really started to see this phenomenon of being overheated. And when we dug into overheated means, well, it actually means a lot of things. We're going to go into that in a second here. But there just wasn't enough room for all the patients that you had on record, plus the new patient volume that you wanted.
Right, bottleneck.
It was a big bottleneck, and we looked in the data, and we called our client offices, obviously, and of course the clients wanted more new patients, but they didn't realize why they couldn't get past whatever number, 20, 30, 40, whatever the number is, they couldn't get past it. So we dug in and we figured out what all the problems were, and it wasn't just one thing. So we're going to ask you to sit back, open up your mind. At the end of this, you'll be able to go to Dental Marketing Mastery, get our PowerPoint. You don't need to write notes unless you're a note taker, that's fine. We're going to walk you through the symptoms. We're going to walk you through the causes. We're going to walk you through the cures. And we're going to, we'll have sort of a pandemic theme to this, right? Because, that's where we are in life. But it's really important that you understand each of these three phases, the symptoms, the causes of the symptoms, and the cure. Because if you don't, when you recognize them, you'll be able to use this information for the rest of your dental career. I also have a disclaimer or disclosure that many dental hygienists hate me, us, after we give this presentation. And I'm going to ask you, at least temporarily, just put your raw emotions off to the side. Okay, this isn't your fault. Nobody's blaming you. Okay,
Give us a shot. That's all we're asking.
that's right. That's right. You're just part of it. So we're going to share. I'm going to share my screen now. And let me see. Howie, can you see that on your screen?
Yes, I can. The
All right,
seemingly asymptomatic dental practice.
Yeah, we named this the seemingly asymptomatic dental practice for, current events reasons. There's people walking around with this virus all over the place that don't even know they have it. And honestly, almost all of you who are watching this don't know you have this problem. So that's why the theme, of this whole 40 minutes that we're going to spend together is going to be built around making sure you know how to measure if you have this problem, and if you do or you see this problem coming, getting yourself out of it. And at the very end, you'll actually discover how to never get into it ever again. So it's sort of like the cure, sort of like the vaccine, right? Of having this problem. So let's see if we have any symptoms in the audience. So I have let me bring up a poll. I created a poll for our audience to share. I'm gonna launch this. You can see that poll, can you not, Howie?
I can see it. It's overlaying the text behind it, but it's basically the same text.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So the audience, we'd love for you to answer some of these, and I'll go through them each one at a time and explain. These are the symptoms that you may have felt prior to COVID-19. You got to get your head out of COVID-19. I'll tell you why it's really important to attend to this now in a second. But I need you to go back to maybe February, January 2020, and your practice was just kind of buzzing along. So I want to know if you had any of the following symptoms. The first symptom is that you had more than about a half of an opening in each full-time hygiene book each day. We get a lot of doctors on forums, even on Dental Marketing Mastery Forum, who complain about cancellations and broken hygiene appointments. Did you have more than a half of an opening in each full-time hygiene schedule each day? Oh, by the way, the poll, you can check off multiples. So it's not like which one did you have? You may have had 4 or 5 or all of them. So go ahead and mark off the poll, because this is going to be very telling. So the next one is, if you're the doctor, did somebody in your office recently say something like, "Hey doc, I got nowhere to put these people"? Right? In other words, your schedule, specifically hygiene. Sometimes new patients, okay? Sometimes what happens is the doctor is concerned about new patient flow, goes to the front desk and says, "Hey, we're not getting as many new patients as we used to." Sometimes they'll actually blame it on the person at the front desk who's answering the phone about their phone skills. and they don't really know why these new patients aren't scheduling. Well, there's no room to put these people. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and the second one, actually, all of these are combined. These are not individual symptoms. They all will feed into each other and create a big problem. So let's go down to the third one is despite your and this is really for the doctors, because this really frustrates dentists, is they'll actually spend more money or different money on marketing or advertising, or they'll try this and try that. And nothing that, even if they increase their budget, seems to work to get more new patients. In other words, they were spending whatever, $2,000 a month, getting 20 new patients a month. They spend $4,000 a month and they still get 20 new patients a month, right? And they're racking their brain out and they're like, oh, it must be my marketing. My marketing guy stinks, or, you know, whatever other conclusion. So they go from marketing guy to marketing guy to marketing guy to marketing guy, and they still get 20 new patients a month, right? So if you're a dentist and you're in that category, click off the poll. This is really, the next one's for the folks who are paid to keep the hygiene schedule full. And that's like that's the most thankless job in dentistry, I swear. My hat's off to you people who try to keep the hygiene schedule full, especially when it's in a situation where the practice is overheated. So the question is was it getting more difficult for you to keep hygiene full before COVID-19? Remember, everything is before COVID-19. The next one is, this is actually almost, the next one is when you see an increase in new patients canceling or breaking their first appointment, that's almost an absolute assured guarantee that you are overheated. Because here's what happens. New patients through your marketing or a referral even, doesn't matter. They call your office and the person at the front desk has a conversation with them, and they say, you know, when would you like to come in? And the patient says, whatever, Tuesday afternoons. And the next available one is 3 Tuesday afternoons from now. And the new patient makes that appointment. And they get off the phone and they go, I don't want to wait 3 weeks to go to the dentist.
No.
I don't want to wait 3 weeks to do anything.
They want to reserve their place in line, though. That's what they're doing, right?
Right.
And then meanwhile, they're going back around and searching for a practice that will get them in when they want to go in.
Exactly. So they go, I'm not, and this is especially true when the wife is scheduling for the husband, right? She sees or hear, or she knows he has a problem. He's not going to attend to it. She wants to get him in sooner, gets a referral, calls the office 3 weeks, makes that appointment, and then thinks about it and goes, I'm not waiting 3 weeks. Calls a different dental office, makes an appointment, keeps that one, and never calls the original office back and says that she's not going to make that first appointment. So if your office was getting more increased new patients canceling and breaking their first appointment, that's definitely an indicator that you need to take some of this corrective action that we're going to talk about.
Mark, don't you have a sort of a gauge, the 8-day thing?
Yeah,
They can't get in within 8.
Yeah, it's kind of the capacity golden rule in dental practices is if you can't get a new patient into a prime time slot within 8 work days, you're over capacity.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
okay. And prime time slot is the key, which we're going to discuss, but for definition purposes, prime time is their first appointment in the morning, last appointment in the afternoon. And we're going to teach you how to measure how many of those you need to reserve for your newest patients moving forward. So I'm going to close this poll. And it looks like everyone had one of these. That's amazing. Wow. And many had multiples. So here are the results of the polling. So all of those symptoms were felt before COVID-19. Not one of them was not realized. Interesting. Interesting, right, Howie?
Very interesting.
In your best voice. Okay, so here's where it starts to get, I'm going to relaunch the polling. Here's the next one. Whoops. Sorry.
That's
Okay.
the last one.
That's the last one. Yeah, I'll change the poll in a second.
Okay.
So what were the causes? What causes those things to happen? How did we get here? How did we get to having all of those symptoms? Well, pre-appointing nearly everyone for hygiene 6 months out for their professional cleaning is the culprit, is the main culprit. There's multiple culprits, there's multiple causes, but that is akin to walking around to strangers, shaking all their hands and then rubbing your eyes right now. Okay. If you pre-appoint nearly everyone 6 months out for their professional cleaning, excuse me, you are creating the bottleneck.
That's right.
Okay. I don't know when, I don't know how, I don't even know why. I'd like to know, I'd like to go back to the roots, all the way back to the first dental person who said, why don't we just make them all appointments?
Yeah.
6 months from now. They might like that and they might stay. Somebody did that. There was the first person to do that somewhere. And then I'm sure they sold a book, and I'm sure they went on the lecture circuit, and I'm sure it spread like wildfire through dentistry until everybody did it. So the question for the group is, can you think of any other business that does that?
They freeze a business asset 6 months out,
Right.
in hopes that they'll collect on it.
Right.
I don't know.
20 to 30% complete fantasy. Just fill up 20 to 30% of your book with complete fantasy on purpose. Okay. It doesn't make any sense. Now, this is where the hygienists start. They get the pitchforks and they start lighting the torches, and they start walking after me. Okay. Easy. I'm going to tell you, it gets better. Okay. So don't get mad at me quite yet. So the second cause, if you pre-appoint nearly everyone in your practice 6 months out for their professional cleaning, what exacerbates the problem? The answer is time. If you're a startup in your third month, this is no big deal. If you're a dentist who's been practicing for 10 or 15 years, and you know for sure 20 or 30% of those pre-appointments aren't really going to come in on that day and that time, you probably have 2,000 people that the poor hygiene coordinator is chasing down for you. And you're probably wondering if she's doing her job or if she's has a bad attitude or whatever, because
And she's probably wondering if she has the right job.
yeah. She's going, man, this stinks. Like,
It's awful.
the doctor keeps telling me to chase these people around who have already proven they don't want to hear from me. Right. And in this day and age of robocalling, like, I can't imagine being a hygiene coordinator. Seriously, that's just it's a thankless job. So what else happens? What are the other causes? There's no appointment priority for your newest patients. So some of the doctors listening to this, the dentists listening to this going, oh man, I bring a lot of my new patients through hygiene. And I purposely packed my own hygiene schedule. And my newest patients don't really have a prime time appointment available for 3 or 4 weeks. There you go. That's the cause. Okay. Another one that's kind of hidden, it's not hidden to us because, again, we see all the data. We know what marketing, there's tracking numbers on everything. We see the call, we see the correlation, we see the revenue. So we see all that stuff. The next one's kind of hidden in that if you use deals to attract primarily shoppers to your practice and you pre-appoint shoppers, people who just made a decision on a healthcare provider based on a coupon, okay, chances are less of those are going to adhere to your pre-appointment recall strategy.
Again, the reason for that is that someone else may have a better coupon.
A better coupon, or they just don't have the value point you have for your practice. They're just not a good match, okay?
Yeah.
So using deals is like putting gasoline on the fire. And here's the worst culprit or the worst cause. The reason why dental practice is adjusted or adapted the pre-appoint 6 months in advance system, everyone, is because it was easy. It's easy.
Seemed to solve a problem at the time.
It seemed to solve a problem, but what it did is it created like 9 problems.
Yeah.
Right? So that's, now let me see if I can get this other poll up here for the attendees, because I'm wondering what the heck happened to it.
Yeah, that's still the previous one. Oh, there, you just got rid of the previous one.
No, here we go. All right. So here, can you see the new one?
Not yet.
Can you see it now?
There we go.
There you go. Okay. So these are the causes. Do you pre-appoint nearly everyone over 90 days, over 90% of your hygiene? Have you been pre-appointing for a long time? Do you bring new patients through hygiene or both hygiene and the dentist chair? Are marketing messages, are you using promotions in your marketing messages? And do you really, 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 really like pre-appointing everyone? And do you hate Mark Dilatush right now? Okay, I know it's easy. You're just going to have it. Actually, not doing it is easy too. So it's not harder. It's just different. And we didn't get anyone to click on our marketing message typically have some kind of obvious reduction in price. That's odd. Normally, so far, nobody says that they use discounts to get the phone to ring.
Oh, we're getting chat messages that say we can only select one.
Oh, they can only select one? Oh, okay, okay.
Then
Then that's my bad, I guess, when I created the poll. Sorry. All right, I'll end the polling. We'll just go to the next slide because the rest of it is all the solutions.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So let's go over to the next slide. All right, so here, what are the cures? Mark, how do I get myself out of this? Now you know why this is the perfect time for this webinar, because if you look out into your schedule, you have more openings right now than you ever will. So you can actually template your schedule appropriately now. You haven't been to work for 6 weeks. I know you have this big list of people that you have to reschedule. But if you reschedule all your existing patients into the future and you don't template for new patients, what's that going to do to your revenues in August, September, and October, and November?
Yeah, they're going to dive.
If you fill your schedule with nothing but overdue people from the last 6 weeks, you're going to create another valley in your production and collection. The valley in production is going to happen immediately, and the valley in collection is going to happen August through October. And that's the main point of today. We're trying to stop you from this is a great opportunity for you to go out and start templating your schedule. Because if you try to template a schedule in a real busy practice that pre-appoints like almost all of their hygiene patients, they can't find anywhere to template. They can't find anywhere to paint their schedule, okay? So let's go through this cure. So how do you figure out how many new patient appointments you need each month so that you can template or paint your schedule? Here's how you do it. And you can do this from home. All of this stuff right now you can do from home. You don't have, well, unless you can't connect to your computer set. You may have to go to the office to do some of this, but for the most part, you know, instead of watching Netflix for another 2 hours, you can actually sit down and make an improvement in your practice right now. So here's how you do it. You take the average new patients for the last 6 months. I'm going to define the last 6 months to be September 1st, 2019 through March 1st, 2020. Let's just use that as a 6 month. Don't even go into March because the COVID-19 thing already happened. So let's take a 6 month realistic look at how many new patients per month you received in those 6 months. Then divide that by 6. So let's just make an example. Let's say that you received 120 new patients in that 6 months, and you divide that by 6. And you come up with 20 per month. 6 months times 20 per month is 120. Now you need to multiply that 20 per month times 120%. So what's 120% of 20? 24, right? Now you know what you need. If you were averaging 20 new patients a month before and you want to grow, you don't want to stay at 20. You don't want to be the frustrated dentist or dental team. You want to grow your new patient base. You can't just have 20. You had 20 before. Now you need 120% of your average. So using this as an example, I need 24 slots. Now you have to think, well, where do we bring hygiene? Do we bring them through, where do we bring in new patients? Do we bring them through hygiene? Do we bring them through the doctor's chair? And every dentist in the country, I bet you we could do a poll and we would have, it's like less filling tastes great, the beer commercial. Like we'd have half dentists say, you got to do it this way. We'd have half the dentists going, you got to do it this way. We have like 5 dentists in the middle going, I don't care. I'll just do it however it makes sense. So, right? I mean, that's how it is. So where do they come in and how long does a new patient appointment typically take? Let's just use another example. Let's say 90 minutes. So if I need 24 prime time, that's the key, prime time. I need 24 prime time appointment slots every month. I need to go out into my schedule. You can do this today and paint. I'm going to define paint in a second here, just so you understand what I'm talking about. You need to paint those openings, first appointment in the morning or last appointment in the afternoon on the weekdays that you work. You need to, I'm going to use the color purple. Paint them purple. Now, what do I mean by paint? I use the word paint because practice management software uses different terminology to focus your attention on certain areas of the schedule. I can't use the word block because if you're like almost every one of our clients, you use LocalMed to do online scheduling, and blocking will actually make LocalMed not see that opening. So we don't want that to happen. Yeah. So what you want to do is paint your schedule with a visual cue. I'm just going to use the purple, okay? That's the first step. So you take 24 90-minute purple slots, morning, evening, morning, evening. And if each of you work, let's say 21 days a month, then that's at least 1 new patient appointment each day. Maybe 2 on a few days. Some of you work 16 days, 18 days, 20 days. You get the idea. You're going to need a couple days with a couple of these. First in the morning, last in the afternoon. Now is the best time to go do this. And you do this for every month going forward, not just next month. You do it all the way up. Go out 12 months and paint at least 24 openings, because your goal is not to go below 24 new patients a month. And we're going to get to the part
Right.
where you get more than 24 a month.
Right. And why wouldn't you want to grow during this time period? Of course you would.
Exactly.
You just have to create room to grow.
Exactly. And eventually, all the uncertainty that you're going through, depending on what state you're in, you know, what do I need for PPE? What do I need for this and testing and which patients, and all that stuff is no longer going to be an uncertainty. Can't tell you when. I mean, in some states it'll be next month. In some states it might not be till like July or August, right? Nobody knows the answer to those questions. But we know eventually the uncertainty is going to go away. And we also know that if your schedule's painted appropriately, you know what's amazing, Howie? Their new patient numbers are going to go up.
Yeah.
Isn't it? From the same exact marketing spend that you're spending right now, your new
anything else.
It's amazing. It's amazing how this works. Okay, so we're going to go to the next slide.
Yeah.
Let's whoops. On the wrong screen. I have multiple screens. Okay, so here's the cure. Those were the causes. These are the cures. This is exactly how you do it. You're going to pre-appoint fewer hygiene patients. Cue hygienists with torches and pitchforks, okay? This is where they don't like when I say these things, but here's my give back. You're still going to pre-appoint your A patients. And that might create a question like, Mark, what's an A patient? Well, you have A patients, B patients, and C patients in every dental practice. Your A patients, I can define it for you. The A patients are the ones who made their appointment 6 months ago, and they actually came in on that day and time that they made 6 months ago.
Without rescheduling.
Without rescheduling.
Or no showing.
Or no showing. They actually took advantage of the courtesy that you offered them 6 months ago. Those are A patients. You can reschedule, you can pre-appoint those for the rest of your career. I gave all the hygienists back something now. Okay. Okay. Here's what you can't do. You can't pre-appoint your B and C patients. So let me define those. Your B patients are patients who did pre-appoint but didn't keep their appointment. They can't pre-appoint anymore until they prove to you that they can make and keep an appointment when they say they will, which I'll get to in a second. Every dental practice has C patients. I don't care what you do. I don't care how many times you send them a card, call them, text them, email them, send them a carrier pigeon. I don't care how many times you do that. You're never going to get your C patients back in anyway. And you should never, ever, ever pre-appoint a C patient. Like, I'll give you a little bit of slack on some of your better B patients, but I'm not giving you any slack on your C patients.
Yeah, those are the people who don't show up until something hurts.
Right. Now, what if you look at the slide, it says pre-appoint less, recall the rest, no more mess. Okay. There's a reason for that, because your B and C patients you're going to recall, and some of you are young enough to not know what that means. I guess I'm arguing, or I'm actually stating that I'm old enough to know what that means. So back in the old days with the dinosaurs and the Flintstones, dentists used to actually recall their patients. Recalling a patient is you send them a card, you send them an email, you send them a text, whatever. If you want to call them, you can call them if you want to. But basically, they don't get an appointment after. If they visited your office today and they're a B patient, they don't get the courtesy of the next appointment. But we're going to send you a text, email, card, whatever your system wants to be, when it's time. And when it's time, call and we'll get you into the schedule. Okay? And that's what happens. And your office business personnel can set up any practice management system to do this. This is like the second easiest thing since sliced bread. Pre-appointment is the easiest thing since sliced bread. Recalling patients is actually the second easiest thing since sliced bread. Okay? So this is not hard, and it's going to end up falling on the business staff. Okay? But the business staff should love it. Okay? Because they're no longer going to have to negotiate times that are 3 weeks out to people who it's so difficult now with everybody has their career, they have kids, they have hobbies, they have other work interests, they have play interests, they have all kinds of stuff going on. It's very difficult even for an existing patient to deal with, we're 3 weeks out. And your front desk people, they're the brunt of it. They're the ones who are getting the complaints from those patients. They may not be telling you they are, but they are. People don't like to wait, especially as we move forward. So the cure, pre-appoint less, recall the rest. You can still pre-appoint your A patients, that's fine. But please recall the rest. And then for your front desk people, there will be no more mess. They'll actually have 24 painted purple slots to put new patients when new patients call. And they'll have more room in the schedule for those B patients who respond to the recall. That's good. And they won't be messing up their schedule with C patients who are never going to come in anyway. And then your hygiene coordinator loves everybody, right? Because now your patient base is segmented to match her workflow. So what's the outcome of all this? Well, we can tell you for sure, just from a pure data standpoint, that pre-appointing the majority of your hygiene patients will prematurely stagnate the new patient growth in a dental practice 100% of the time. Okay, it's just a matter of time. The only thing that will stop it from happening is if you're a brand new dentist with a brand new office and you only have 200 patients of record. If you're beyond that, this will happen to you at some point. You will start spending marketing dollars and getting less of a result because your schedule is artificially constricted. 8 workdays. That's your number. If you can't get me into your practice, I call your practice. I was referred by a friend. I'm not an emergency. I'm not in pain. I'd like to be a new patient in your office. I just moved to the area. And if your answer to me is, Tuesday mornings or Thursday afternoons, that's when it matches up with my work schedule. And you're looking at the book and you're going, Tuesday mornings and Thursday afternoons are the most, those are the most popular appointment times we have. Yeah, because you're putting all of your existing patients into the most popular appointment times. Of course you are, okay? And you're pre-appointing them 6 months before. If you're saying that to yourself and you can't get me into your office within 8 workdays in a prime time slot, go spend some time on this project. Go paint. Remember, 120% of your average new patient number, go paint that into your schedule from here out a year. And then you do that measurement every month, right? You just keep doing that measurement. And then like next month, if you need 26, you just add 2 to each month moving out. It's not hard. It actually only takes probably 20 minutes a month after it's initially set up. So what else can you expect as an outcome? You're going to get fewer hygiene cancellations. You know why? Because you only pre-appointed your A patients. That's it.
Yeah.
right? And the B patients, the best B patients, the ones who want to become A patients again, if they call from the recall, your card, text, whatever, and they make their appointment and they keep the appointment at that date and time, the hygienist can offer them a courtesy again of being an A patient. That's fine. But as soon as a patient breaks that courtesy, they go down to a B patient again, right? It's easy. It's very easy to manage, very easy to understand, very easy to manage. Your hygiene costs are going to go down dramatically, and this is actually really dangerous if you're a fast-growing dental office and you pre-appoint 100% of your hygiene patients, because your brain, your eyes will look at your book and you will see this just smashed schedule, and you'll automatically say to yourself, I need more hygienists. And that's not reality. Reality is 30 to 40% of what you're looking at as a book is a pure fantasy. And somebody in your office you're going to have to spend money to have somebody in your office chase 30 or 40% of those patients around.
Yeah, that costs money right there.
That costs money too. And that's the lower administration cost. That's the next part of this slide, which is, wouldn't you rather have the hygiene coordinator like following up treatment plans or something, right? Instead of chasing around shoppers who you brought in 6 months ago who probably have moved on to the next Groupon they get in their email. Like, seriously, like let's delegate this to the personnel and let's get them on the highest value work. And the hygiene coordinators become happier because they can actually be successful at that.
Yeah.
Chasing around C patients it's not a recipe for a happy employee. It just, it never has been.
No.
So let's go through some FAQs. Hey, Crystal, for everyone listening, we have Crystal Swan and Salat Khan on standby. They're actually looking at your questions. They're going to chime in with some other questions, but we anticipated quite a few. We've done these webinars in the past, actually live events in the past, and these are some of the most common questions. Like, what if a prime time slot is not taken by a new patient? And the scheduling coordinators in the audience are going, I just fill it. It's a prime time appointment. I can fill a prime time appointment with anybody next week. I fill it in with a new patient. The only question is when? Do you want to, like, 24 hours before that opening or 36 hours before the opening? Do you want to fill it? That's up to you. We're not dictating exactly what, you're going to do in your practice, but every scheduling coordinator listening to this going, yeah, if you have a prime time slot to fill, I'll get it filled. Don't worry about that. It won't be open, right? It won't be an open slot.
Yeah, right.
Hey, Mark and Howie, we have actually 2 questions from the attendees.
Yeah.
The first question is, in the scenario in which a practice acquires 24 new patients a month, how many hygiene hours does the practice have, and what is the attrition rate?
How many hours do they have? So I don't know how many hours they have. If each appointment is 90 minutes and you need 24, then you'd need about 36 hygiene hours to handle just your new patients. And what was the second question, Sal?
What is the attrition rate?
Everybody's attrition rate is different.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's is. The attrition rate here with this system will actually, what you're doing here is you're spending time and energy and money with the people who have proven to you value your services, and you're not spending the time, energy, money, and you're not allowing the people that don't value your services to clog your schedule
Right.
for potential new patients who will value your services. That's what this whole thing is about.
Yeah.
Our hygienists schedule the next hygiene visit from the treatment rooms. How do I get them to comply with the painted prime time openings? This is where the hygienists they actually storm the castle and start beating on me. So here's my answer to this. This is going to sound like a funny answer, but it's actually been done and it's been quite effective. You go to Costco and they have these these cheese doodles, like the big round cheese doodles in these big plastic like tubs. You eat all the cheese doodles and you take the lid and you cut a hole in it big enough to put a $5 bill into, screw the lid back down, put that in your break room. And every time a hygienist puts a existing patient into one of those purple slots, she's got to put $5 in that jar. You'll get one $5 bill, maybe two, and then everybody will become compliant. So that may sound like a smart ass answer, but it works.
It is sort of smart ass, but it's a workable smart ass.
Okay, yeah, it definitely works. And they'll come up with excuses. Oh, but she's old, and oh, but you know, her husband died and all this other stuff. It's fine. You can pre-appoint them into a different spot.
Yeah.
Just don't go into the purple zone. Those are reserved for your newest patients.
Hey, Mark.
Yep.
We have another question from an attendee. A concern is, what about, they're worried about losing track of a patient if they don't pre-appoint. How do you recommend they deal with that?
Every practice management software they can go right now and just see if this exists in their practice management software. Go run a recall. This would be a great exercise for everybody, actually. Go run a recall for January 1st, 2019 to January 1st, 2020. A recall list. And look at how many patients are on it. Those patients used to fill up your schedule. That's how you track them. You run reports, you run recall, you send them text, you send them emails, and then pretty soon they're just inactive. You've exhausted everything that you can do. So run a recall list. And I would encourage everybody listening to this, go run one for last year and look at how many patients are on it. And then think to yourself, wow, that's a lot of overdue hygiene patients. And then think to yourself, my God, they were actually in my schedule.
Right.
Right. And then you say, my God, I'm paying Amy to follow up on all these people. Right. Then you'll get it. You'll actually see what I see or what we see. That's the data I'm talking about. That's the part of this that's so obvious to us, but because everybody's, they're really focused on patient care, focused on everybody's all focused on patient care. You have to kind of step back and just look at the data. And when you look at yours, you'll go, whoa, yeah, there's a lot of people on this list. Yeah, they were in your schedule. And that's what this whole thing is about. So what do you mean by recalling our B and C patients? If you have Smile Reminder, Demand Force, Lighthouse, insert third-party software name, all of them can send emails to your your recall patients. You can send postcards, the regular old Daffy Duck and Mickey Mouse postcards, right? Time for your next cleaning. You can send anything however you could run a list and call them if you want. We're not dictating how you recall. If it were my office, I can give you a general guideline. 2 weeks before, I would run recall every week. I would run recall, and when I say run recall, it's just a report. That's all it is. It's not hard. You will run a list of patients who are due 2 weeks from now for that week for hygiene, and you might be like 12 people on it. Okay. I'm going to email all 12 of those people this email. Time to schedule your next professional cleaning. Then I'm going to text the people for the week before because I already emailed them last week. So I'm going to send them a text. They didn't respond to my email, so I'm going to send them a text. And then at some point, I'm just going to take all my overdue patients, all of them, all the ones that it's like a funnel. It's like a sales funnel. You have a bunch of people in this funnel. And when you email them, a certain number are going to make an appointment. And that leaves a bunch of people in the funnel. And when you text them, a certain number of people are going to make an appointment. And that leaves people in the funnel. And at the very bottom, what do you want to do? You want to call them? You want to send them a postcard? Whatever you'd like to do. That's up to you guys to set up, however you want your recall protocol to be. I would do as much electronically as I could, and probably as a last ditch effort, I might postcard all of my like when you run your list for all of last year, I might send them a postcard. Right? You've already tried to recall them. You already made an appointment for them. They already didn't respond. Somebody in your office either is or isn't following up with them anyway, and they still haven't been in, and they've been overdue for at least 3 or 4 months. So that's what recall is. So if this change fails, if we implement everything you said, Mark and Howie, if we do, where am I going to fail? It'll be compliance. It'll be, and in my experience, someone in the business office, well, the doctor has to speak up. The doctor has to take control of this, right? Because the practice is being damaged by this. It's kind of obvious, right? So the doctor has to say, we need to fix this. Fixing it normally falls on the business team. But see, the business team is motivated to get it fixed too, because they're the ones who are constantly on the phone with these patients trying to negotiate an appointment time that's so far away, and hearing the frustration on the patient's end. And so they're motivated to change this. So as long as the doctor's motivated and says, we need to fix this, it's going to fall on the business team. The business team, by the way, if you all want this PowerPoint just to follow the steps, you can have the PowerPoint. We'll just email it to you. So business team, once the business team gets it and they start implementing it and they paint 24 slots out each month, and it starts working, and they're not following up with the lady who came in on the $19 exam special 6 months ago, and they're like, oh, that's cool. and they have their recall protocol. In other words, email, text, postcard, whatever your protocol is, and they realize that only takes like, I don't know, 10 minutes a week, maybe 15 minutes a week. Once they have that down, then they'll normally keep everyone else compliant. And the fallback is that big jar with the slot in the top for the $5 bills. Okay, that applies to everybody, by the way. I'm not just picking on the hygienist, all right? That applies, even if the doctor makes an appointment in a purple spot, even whatever, he got to put $5, or she has to put $5 in the jar, right? The business staff does it, they got to put $5 in the jar. So the jar will actually keep everybody compliant. The question is are you willing to implement the jar? That's the only remaining question.
Hey, excuse me, Mark.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a clarification on one of our previous questions.
Yep.
One of the attendees is asking, the question was, how many hygiene hours per week do you believe a practice must have to accommodate 6 new patients per week? What part of the 90-minute new patient appointment is scheduled in hygiene?
Wow. Okay. So that goes back to my original statement, whereas you take 50% of the dentists, put them on the left, they'll say they all have to go into the dentist chair. 50% is in the hygiene chair. And now you're asking me to judge how much time should a new patient spend in either chair. I'm going to say that at 90 minutes, you're probably average. I got a lot of dentists who try to get them in for 2 hours or 2.5 hours. I think that's kind of like water torture for a new patient. And I can actually see that in the new patient numbers. In other words, the longer you're going to bring them in, or the longer they have to take out of their own personal and business schedule, the lower your conversion. So my sweet spot is 90 minutes, and my overriding theory with new patients, not even a theory, my overriding advice with new patients is new patients, this is more than an opinion, and this probably won't be a popular opinion among dentists, but most new patients, what they want, this isn't about you, this is about what they want. when they come into your office the first time, they want to rub their tongue in the back of their teeth and feel the gaps again. They want their teeth cleaned. Okay. And I use the analogy like, what's the name of that oil change place?
Speedy Lube.
Speedy Lube, whatever. Jiffy Lube, right? So I take my truck into Jiffy Lube and I say, hey, dude, I need an oil change. And the guy goes, all right. And he goes in and he goes, well, I can't do an oil change, but you have, your windshield wipers need to be replaced, your air filter, your cabin filter, and your tires all need to be rotated. And then I can do, your oil change. Okay. I'm not going to Jiffy Lube anymore. Okay. And I know there's a million reasons why clinically. I know there's multiple camps. Bring them through hygiene, bring them through dental chairs, bring them through either. Mark is in the get them in category. Okay. So and be flexible category. Okay. So if a patient calls and says, hi, I just moved to the area. I haven't been to the dentist for a year. I want to get my teeth clean. I'm going to bring them through hygiene. If a patient calls and says, yeah, my friend Joan, Dr. Smith just did a whole bunch of her work. Her teeth look fabulous. I want to see if I'm a candidate for whatever. I'm sending them to the doctor's chair. Okay. So for me, it depends on what was asked at the time of the appointment is where I put them. I don't think you're ever going to have a practice where you don't have someone who asks for a cleaning. And I don't think you're ever going to have a practice where all people just ask for cleanings. I think you're going to be flexible and be able to put them in either schedule. Sal and Crystal?
Yes, sir.
Anything else from out there?
A funny question. Who gets the money in the jar?
I see that. Who gets the money in the jar? That's a great question.
We do.
Yeah. You know what?
Our idea.
I honestly don't have an answer. Yeah, we do. Yeah, Howie and Mark get it. I honestly don't have an answer to that question because I think they just have pizza or something, or they put it in for their Christmas party or something like that. I mean, in good cohesive teams who are in it for the whole, like who are in it for the whole practice. If you just show them this information and get them to think and stop being emotional about it, they'll get it eventually. They'll be like, yeah, you're right. Pre-appointing him is actually hurting the business.
Yeah, it hurts everyone on the team.
Sal's one of those. Hey, Sal, can you come back on and just tell your story about the type of dental patient you are?
I'm the one that never adheres to their recall appointment.
Right.
I literally fought with my dentist for 2 years to tell them, please stop doing this.
Right.
And after 2 years, my dentist finally got the hit and was like, you're on to something, Sal.
Yeah. It's so good question though. Anybody else have any other questions for us? I do have an announcement. Actually, so a couple of announcements. Our next webinar is going to be in 2 weeks. It too is going to be on Wednesday at noon Eastern time, 9 a.m. Pacific time. And the topic is going to be titled somewhat, I'm not sure exactly what the title is going to be, but it's going to be, here's why your Google ads are getting their butt kicked. Okay. So we're going to go through Google advertising as a dentist. We're not going to get real deep into the weeds because you can get ridiculously deep into the technical weeds when you're dealing with Google ads. And we're going to take you just far enough to understand why yours might not be doing as well as you think they should. And we're going to give you the steps that are necessary. None of these steps, you can't skip any of these steps. These are all necessary steps to get a better result from Google ads. And Google ads are going to be pretty popular here coming up because a lot of my phone just heard me say Google. Google ads are going to be really popular coming up because there's a lot of emergency treatment out there that's untreated right now. So a lot of dentists are going to be using Google ads for emergencies to, fill up their schedule. So that's announcement number one. The next webinar, same Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. When you get done this webinar, when you click out of this webinar, it's going to take you back to our education page, our learning center. And in our learning center, we just added access to all of our guides, all of our, or not all of our books, but Unlimited New Patients Volume 3 in audio format. That guy you see who's not talking, Howie, did audio voiceovers for all of our guides and all of our books. Listening to Howie is, it's just so calming when you listen to him. So he did a phenomenal job. So, and the guide that goes along with this webinar is either called Pre-Appointing All Your Hygiene is Bad. Download the guide. You'll be able to read everything, or probably even more than what we covered in this webinar.
Yeah.
Or it's called 4 zero cost ways to improve your marketing. I'm not sure which title we have up there, but
Yeah, it's the zero cost one.
it's the same guide. So
Yeah.
You can read it, or you can listen to Howie talk to you while you're on the trip.
While you're trying to go to sleep.
That's right. Hey, Crystal and Sal, any more remaining questions?
Yep, we have another 2 questions.
Okay.
The first one is, how do you explain to the patient who's expecting to pre-appoint that they can't without making them feel insulted?
Well, no, that's a courtesy that we offer many of our patients. Those patients that make their appointment 6 months in advance, keep their 6-month appointments. I can qualify you for that next time. All you have to do is we're going to send you an email or a text, whatever your recall protocol is. And when you get that, make your appointment and keep that one, and we'll move you back into that courtesy.
Yeah.
Fabulous. The second question is, for patients who put off their appointments now due to COVID-19, and by the time they get back in it has been 3 to 5 months past the original recall, what type of cleaning or protocol should we use?
That's you.
That's a clinical.
I'm not a dentist.
Yeah.
I should have a little piece of paper. Not a dentist.
That's a clinical decision.
Yeah, that's a clinical decision on the dentist and the hygienist part. We wouldn't even pretend to be able to guide you with that answer.
All right.
Are we good?
Have we taken enough time?
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're
Okay.
good.
Well,
We're gonna record this on the cloud, and then we're gonna make it available. One other thing that we would ask is we'll send the attendees the recording of this, and if you'll share that with a dental friend, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
pretty much all we ask. We do have Dental Marketing Mastery Facebook group. So if you're not already a part of that, you might want to go and ask to be admitted, because that's where we take this education and we mix it with a bunch of dentists and a bunch of hygienists and a bunch of business people in dental offices and assistants. And we continue the conversation with a lot of these what ifs. So Dental Marketing Mastery, just do a search for it on Facebook and you'll be there.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks
Yeah,
for
we'll see you next
spending
week.
an hour with us. We appreciate it.